All right. So, hey guys, we're gonna kind of recap the last few weeks now that we're about through the midway point of our 6 week challenge, and kind of see where we're at and how to overcome some of the obstacles that we may be getting into midway through. So, I want to kind of recap the past few habits and reemphasize that just because they are we're changing habits from week to week, it doesn't mean we need to stop doing the original one. So the very first one, for example, was on hydration. And we want to make sure that at the end of the first week, we didn't just stop drinking our water, that we are continuing to do that all the way through. Typically speaking, we need to address a habit for at least 21 days to really create the habit. So while we're addressing it for 1 week, it doesn't mean stop. We're just kind of creating the foundation for each of these habits as we move forward. So make sure, again, we're tracking our fat and preparing our meals. So those were the first three that we addressed, and obviously we're moving on to week 4, and we'll have a new habit. So if you quite haven't mastered the previous habits, please go back and refocus in on them. You can always go back and look at the material that was sent out to you on hydration and revisit those things to make them lifelong habits. So the other thing is MyFitnessPal. We got to make sure that we are tracking our stuff in MyFitnessPal. We're going to address a little bit more on that later as I keep going through this. So the big goal for tonight is to address some of the issues that some of the participants are having that they voiced out on our private Facebook page. So the very first one I want to talk about a little bit, and please feel free to jump in and ask questions as we go. I want this to be interactive to make sure that I am addressing some of the concerns that came up, is feeling hungry after dinner. Without really digging into every person's lifestyle, this can be caused by several reasons. So I definitely suggest sitting down with your coach and trying to identify some various things, but I'm going to cover a couple of them here. Is, after a long day, a lot of times we come home stressed. And it's really, really, really easy to try to cope with our stress or our fatigue of the day by eating. So we got to definitely deal with that if that seems to be your problem. And I don't know if it is, and that's something that needs to be addressed with your coach. But a couple of things is increasing fiber. That's going to help us feel a little bit more full during dinner. And drinking a lot of water just prior to eating dinner, it will fill us up, make you feel a little less hungry as the dinner is over. The other thing is trying to watch your portions, and that sounds obvious, but when you're done eating what's on the plate, try to push aside, get up, and walk away from the table. After a good 15 minutes or so, that craving of continuing to eat will go away. And you'll actually feel more full. And I don't know, I'm going to probably throw out a lot of examples in my life, but I can eat a breakfast when I'm carb loading with, piles of oatmeal or 3 pieces of Ezekiel toast with all my eggs. This morning on my low carb day, I had berries with eggs, and I didn't feel any less full from that. Your body can adjust. It's just you got to get up and walk away from the table, and you'll get that sensation of being full. So obviously, some of you are going to say, well, Matt, it's not 10 minutes after, it's an hour or 2 hours after. So a couple of things here is looking at your routines. Many of us probably, to de-stress, sit down on a couch at night and start catching up on our shows that we missed. And it's really easy to start just munching away from boredom. I think this is where we gotta, switch up the routines a little bit. So address some of these questions. When do you eat your problem foods after dinner? Is it right before bed at 9, 10 o'clock? Is it at 6 o'clock? An hour after dinner, or are we munching while we're making dinner? Do you find yourself eating these foods in the kitchen while you're preparing food, or are you sitting on the couch? Are you seated in a special chair when you're snacking? So try to look for some of these habits so that way we can start to bring some of these to your coaches and we can address them. And how do you eat these problem foods? Are you standing up? Are you laying down in bed? Are you munching out of a bag? I'll tell you, when I pick up my kids from Stacy's house, and they're eating chips, I find myself grabbing a couple. And believe it or not, you don't realize how many calories that can add up to. So just grabbing a couple of handfuls is bad. Those calories do count. And while you're tracking that stuff on MyFitnessPal, you got to include it. Otherwise, we're not really capturing a true sense of what you're eating. So back to our routines again, and maybe we need to adopt some new routines. For example, after dinner, maybe go for a walk with your spouse. Get out of the house. Enjoy the weather. We're coming up on summer here. It's a perfect time to get outside. Go walk, stretch, ride a bike, get more active. You'll find out that not only are you burning calories while doing that, but you're also not sitting at a table bored or in front of the television. Drink very low-calorie beverages. Water, again, fill yourself up on that stuff. Go to bed maybe a little bit earlier. That's a really tough habit to break. I, for one, and I know Kim and Christine, everyone, we get up really early in the morning, and the last thing we want to do is stay up late. The later we stay up, the more we're going to have a craving to eat. So, maybe start to try to go to bed a little bit earlier. And we're going to talk about getting more sleep later on here, but sleep is going to be a huge one for weight loss, actually. And be sure to, start your day with a good breakfast and eat more frequently. If you also plan on eating at 3:30, 4 o'clock, so that way when you get home at 5:30 or 6, you're not just starving and just, piling food in your face. So definitely start eating your snacks later in the afternoon, and be prepared also. If you are hungry after dinner, an hour or two later, that's okay. Just make sure you have a really good, healthy snack to eat. Be sure to avoid those complex carbohydrates that are high in sugar and high in the glycemic index. But it is okay to have additional snacks later in the night, something more protein related. And then, the television habits, I cannot stress enough that the studies show that the more we sit in front of the TV, the more we tend to eat. Believe it or not, number 2 here, commercials urge viewers to eat. Half the stuff that is sold on commercials anymore are food, fast foods, things like that. So believe it or not, there's a lot of science with these companies that push or use the science to make you hungry by how they present their commercials to you. So, get out of the house, try to adapt your life a little bit. And then deal with the emotion first. Really do a self-check, do a long time looking in the mirror and figure out what is it that's causing the hunger. Did you get enough water in the day? I know, again, for one, I drink a gallon of water a day, and I drink 3/4 of it by lunchtime. And I tend to, fall off later in the day. So, again, really keep focusing on that water. It's going to fill you up. Eat things, like celery or some nuts. Nuts late in the afternoon are really good at helping curb the appetite. So those might be a really good snack later in the day. Some of the other concerns that people really wanted to talk about were breaking plateaus. So I listed a whole bunch of different ones. And again, please feel free to, ask some questions as we go through these for more detail. But adjusting caloric intake. This one's interesting. I said it way back when that we find ourselves not eating enough, believe it or not. We get into a habit of cutting our calories. And we do that because that sounds logical. Cutting calories will create a weight loss. Not necessarily true. So understand that your calorie level and your metabolism are going along simultaneously, living in a proper harmony. And when you drop your calories, what you will find is your metabolism will lower to compensate for that. So be sure that sometimes you got to bring your calories up a little bit. And I've used this analogy, and I'll use it again. But if you remember those old steam locomotives, and you're shoveling coal into that engine, what happens when we shovel a lot of coal into it? It starts to speed up, burn hotter. It's kind of like your metabolism. When we stop putting coal and good fuel into the back of that steam engine, it's going to slow down and cool off. So sometimes we've got to really bring those calorie levels back up, again, albeit with nice clean fuel. So again, that brings us to my next point, is focusing on the quality. There are a lot of calories in these processed foods. So like in my example, where I'm grabbing a couple handfuls of my kids' chips and running out the door, I probably just piled in about 250 calories. that I completely forgot that I did it. And I'll tell you, I didn't feel any more full from doing it. So we really, really got to continue to focus on the cleanliness of our food. And I go back to my old saying is, if man made it, don't eat it. You cannot possibly get fat by eating food that was naturally provided on this earth. It cannot happen. You just physically cannot fill yourself up enough. So again, that goes back to, again, being hungry after dinner. Did you eat nice piles of vegetables? Vegetables can darn near be found calories. You don't even, I shoot myself for saying this, but you almost don't have to count those calories at all. But fill yourself up. Pile in a ton of broccoli. You will get full, and you won't put nearly as many calories as you think you would, and you won't be hungry an hour or two later. And I'm kind of all over the place on these things here on this bullet points, but rotate the routine. You know, you got to lift heavier to build muscle. That old adage that I'm going to keep it lightweight, more reps, there is no such thing. So realize that muscle is a very, very stupid tissue. It doesn't know anything other than, was I stimulated to grow or not? We, in the fitness industry, to keep the consumer interested in what we do, we keep rotating it up and coming up with new, I'll call it crap, because it's really what it is. At the end of the day, there is no substitute for proper strength training, and you got to lift heavy. That includes women. Don't be afraid to do it. You got to lift. So that is what's going to increase our metabolism. Okay, so we've got to focus on that as the centerpiece of our exercise routines, and not a long, steady state activity of running around on treadmills. That doesn't do the trick. Beware of cleanup duty. This goes back again to all of us who have children at home. I'll tell you, it is really easy to polish off their plate when they're done. It's only a couple of French fries. Nobody will notice. And if you're like me, if nobody saw me eat it, I didn't really eat it. So very, very, very quickly, Kim and I talked this about the other day, run water on it, quick. Or get your kids to carry their plate over and immediately put it in the sink and run a bunch of water over it. So that way you don't grab it. I do it all the time. It is one of my biggest problems at night is I'm sitting there eating, I'm still a little bit hungry, and I start, just cleaning up their plate. So avoid that, put little tricks in place to make sure that you can't even get your hands on that plate, that they're cleaning up after themselves. Knowing your numbers. This one's important. If you're really running into a plateau, and this isn't knowing your calories or body fat percentage. This one is actually knowing your blood panels. A lot of us probably haven't been to a doctor in a really long time and have no idea whether we're dealing with thyroid issues, adrenal fatigue, our lipid counts off, or, so in other words, our hormones not working properly. So if you're really feeling exhausted and really you're doing all the right things and just things don't seem to work, it doesn't hurt to proactively work with your doctor to get a blood workup done and see if anything's out of the ordinary at all. The next thing is sleep. I cannot stress this enough. We are trying to make our body change, and we're exercising our brains out, and we've got to sleep. It's where our body really rejuvenates, gives us a new, fresh outlook in the morning. And I'm going to tell you, when you wake up with a good night of sleep, you're going to have a lot more energy in the morning. So if not, you're going to be, piling down as much caffeine as you can. You're not going to make the good decisions the next day. You're not going to prep your food. So, I can't stress that enough. Sleep's really important. So keep your eyes on your caloric needs. Many of us don't know how many calories you really need to be at. So what that is called our basal metabolic rate, or BMR. BMR will tell us the number of calories that are needed in order to just get through our day. And then there's some mathematical formulas that you can adjust those caloric needs based on your activity levels. Then you can subtract out the number of calories per day. Say it's 500 calories a day, you'd lose 1 pound a week. So there's a couple of ways to do that. I will post tomorrow out on Facebook some free BMR calculators. Understand it is just a mathematic formula, but it does not personalize to you. We do have a metabolic testing system that we can actually provide you if you are interested. It is a $20 test. It takes about 10 minutes, and you want to do that first thing in the morning. So if that is something that interests you, again, it's a lot more personalized. It is actually reading what your specific BMR is and takes out the mathematical calculations. Please contact your coach to learn a little bit more about that. But again, it's only $20. The next thing is flush with fluids. Again, cannot stress enough, water. And again, go ice cold water. It's going to burn additional calories to heat that water up before you use the restroom. So, and I'm reiterating the muscle mass here again. I copy and pasted a bunch of these from a few different resources. So, increasing muscle mass, lift heavy. Eat more protein. I talked about the carbohydrate speech in our very first kickoff meeting. And one of the things I pointed out was when you're eating your carbohydrates, the best thing you can do is to eat more protein. And that will level out your blood sugar level. Well, why is that important? Well, when you eat carbohydrates, your blood sugar increases. And as a result, your insulin will elevate in order to bring the blood sugar back down. When that blood sugar drops, your body begins to crave it again. So again, identifying what you're eating at dinner is a really important thing, because if your dinner is high in high glycemic carbohydrates and that blood sugar starts coming down, about an hour or two later, you're going to start feeling really hungry again. And it's not that you're hungry, your body's craving that increased blood sugar. So again, really eat more protein. Eat it with every meal. And again, make that the centerpiece of every meal that you eat, and surround that centerpiece with your carbohydrates and fats. Again, eating more fiber. Again, that will make us feel a bit more hungry. It helps digestion and so on. So it's another really good one. Limiting caffeine. Now, let me preface this, drinking your Spark is not a problem. However, studies show that when you are consuming greater than 5 cups of coffee a day, so if you are one of those people that are literally drinking it all day long, or these enormous cups of coffee, that can cause a problem. It will actually start storing fat in the gut as a result. So we want to avoid that. Now, the next one, cheat on your diet. Now, don't take that verbatim or literally. What we mean on is, we understand the concept of muscle confusion and muscle memorization. And people will go in the gym and they'll vary things. That's why, as you guys are taking our semi-private personal training, those sessions change frequently. So we're shocking the body to change continuously. Well, you have to address your metabolism the very same way. If you are, again, constantly lowering calories, your metabolism is going to catch up. Believe it or not, it would be okay to spike your calories 2 or 3-fold for a day or two. And what that will do is it will spark your metabolism to readjust to dealing with that increased calorie level. Now, that doesn't mean go out and just pound a ton of pizza and M&Ms. What that means is take the healthy foods you're eating and triple it. Force it down. What happens again is your stomach will expand. It will get used to eating that. And then when you drop back down again, your body will start to remove fat and using it as a fuel source, because it's not getting the food that you were eating those couple of days that you were spiking. If you guys ever want to really talk some more detail about that, there's some really great ways to do it. It worked tremendously for me when I did my bodybuilding competition. It was called carb loading and carb cycling. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. So I don't recommend it until you're really, really ready. But if you do want to learn more about that, come see me. I'm happy to talk to you about it. The next thing is cutting back on salt. Salt is something that helps us retain water. So the worst thing you could do before getting on the scale is drinking a bunch of wine, eating a bunch of chips and salsa, things like that are high in salt. You're going to retain water, and it's going to look like you gained a couple of pounds. So it is not out of the realm of possibility to gain 2 to 3 pounds of water in a given night, seeing as how 80% of your body is water. So, start cutting back on that salt a little bit. That'll obviously help with blood pressure as well. Eating almonds before your workout. Almonds are very, very high in what's called L-carnitine and L-arginine. Those are amino acids that help the body to utilize fat stores during exercise. So if you don't like almonds or you have some nut allergies, we do have some really awesome pre-workout drinks in our store for L-carnitine and L-arginine. And what you'll feel during your workouts is your body temperature will actually elevate. That is your body actually burning higher level of calories. So again, supplementation is key when we don't eat all the perfect foods, which is, again, very rare. So this is where supplementation comes into play. So again, talk to your coach about that. We do have some good stuff for you there. Eating frequently. Again, going into that dinner time specifically, make sure you're not missing your afternoon snack. I know for me, breakfast is easy. My mid-morning snack's easy. Lunch is easy. Man, do I forget the late afternoon snack all the time. And I know I am guilty of it. I come home and I am just ravishing everything I can. So again, prepare that snack. Take it to work with you. Eat it on the way home before you start cooking dinner. And then make sure you have an easy evening snack as well for after dinner. One you know you're going to go to, the one you're going to grab out of the refrigerator so you avoid the pantry and all the processed foods. And then, again, I talked about that before, more water before dinner. Spread your protein out. Boy, I see so many people eating high carbohydrate breakfasts and not eating a good source of protein until dinner. We can't do that. Spread them out. The next thing, write it down. Please go back to MyFitnessPal. Really start digging into writing it down. And do not forget to write down those 2 handfuls of pretzels or chips you grabbed on the way out the door. We really, you guys are all intelligent. When you start to see it written on a piece of paper, you start to realize what you really do. So really focus on, again, your planning and writing and comparing your actual result to your plan. And then recovery. I know it's really easy for all of us to get into the 6-week challenge and start busting our butts and working out like madmen. And the reality is your body doesn't get stronger during exercise. It gets stronger during recovery. So it only stands to reason that we spend a little bit more time recovering, giving our bodies time to rebuild that muscle that we worked so hard to get. But you should not be lifting weights every day. You should not be killing yourself every day. When we say be active, be more mobile, go hike. Go for a walk with the spouse, whatever it is. But you do not need to kill yourself on a daily basis. That will actually slow your metabolism down. And the biggest thing I can tell you guys, patience, patience, patience. Power through it. Remember, you are trying to change something. I'm 40. Oh boy, I'm almost 43. I've built, sometimes this horrible body over the course of 43 years. It doesn't change overnight. So you've got to have a little bit of patience. You're trying to get your body to change something that it has been like for 43 years. So your body's going to really resist that change. So, and I want to talk about the power of mental focus as well. Somebody said to me when I was plateauing, while I was trying to prepare for a photo shoot, he said to me, what is going on with my screen? I'm sorry for this. Anyway, he said to me, Matt, there is something to be said for the power of positive thought. So you have to, really focus on knowing that it will work and not defeat yourself before you even start the process. So again, positive thinking and just be patient. Things will happen. So any questions whatsoever? No? Okay, I don't know what's going on my screen, but if there's no questions, guys, I'm going to stop this, and we'll get this up on Facebook for everyone to view tomorrow. Awesome. Great work, everybody. You guys are doing a great job. Just keep up the good work, and I know good things are going to happen for you. Again, if you guys have any detailed questions, please feel free to contact your coach as soon as possible. Have a great night, guys. We'll talk to you later.